For the approval of the agenda.
Mr. President, I move we approve the agenda with the following amendments. B1, additional classified personal actions for considerations. Item number E3.
Second. I'll second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda with the following amendment. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. All right, move on to delegations, question and answers, public comment, recognitions of committees. I think we'll go ahead and have building presentation by Florence Wilson.
Good evening. I'm Trace Watt and I'm Sierra Crandall. We are the sponsors of the Florence Wilson Lighthouse team. And these are our members. Yeah, introduce yourself.
I do start. I'm Brandon Lee. Good evening. My name is Brenley and I am a student at Florence Wilson Elementary. Tonight, we will be sharing information with you about our school. First, I would like to let the members of the student Lighthouse team who will be presenting tonight to introduce.
We already introduced ourselves. We're going to skip ahead if that's okay.
As we introduced ourselves, we shared that we are members of the Student Lighthouse team. This is a group of 3rd grade and 4th grade students. We had to fill out an application telling how we use the 7 habits as school approach and how we demonstrate leadership. 2 students from each class were chosen to serve on the Student Lighthouse team. We are leaders in the school as we help plan service projects, school events, run the school tour, and help brainstorm ways to make our school better. Start off by sharing our building plans. Also, there are 2 roles this year. This is a 75%. Kindergarten to 6th grade students need the honest and fluency and good assessment by the end of the meeting. One of the big blocks for this year is for each classroom. Great student have. You can see that then we'll miss other classes. Every day to a better meeting as well. Student White House team led. We announced awarded September birthdays and other things in front of the whole school. We dressed up for the GCHS Homecoming Spirit Week, and our whole school walked to the high school for the homecoming pep assembly. Our school took part in the National Walk to School Day on October 4th. The Garden State High School cross-country team helped escort our students from 2 locations safely to school. We practiced using the crosswalk and were greeted by our Eagle mascot, kazoos, and lots of confetti. We also had a literacy celebration in memory of Mrs. Wilson's birthday, where we had guest readers from the Garden State Community College men's basketball team and literacy activities for all students. Some of the upcoming events for this semester include parent-teacher conferences, donuts with grown-ups, Florence Wilson Friday's night, Thanksgiving lunch with our families, after-school movie matinee. Thank you for inviting us to your meeting and allowing us to share all the great things about our school with you tonight. We invite you to come check out our building anytime. It's a great place to learn. We are Florence Wilson Eagles, eagerly achieving goals, leading everyone to success. So
They're ready. They're ready for questions.
Are you guys all, what grades are you in?
Start here and just go down.
Yeah.
4th grade and 3rd grade.
What grade are you in?
What are you in?
Fourth.
Fourth, 3rd.
All right.
We have more 3rd graders, they just were not able to
Yeah,
join us today.
sure.
Good
Did
job.
I hear one of the activities was that movie night? The football stadium? Is that your guys' idea or were you participating in it? How did you learn about that or develop that?
Mr. Tone actually invited us up to the high school once they got the new big screen up there and we took advantage of it. It was a lot of fun.
That's great. That's
Class.
My favorite class was kitchen class in 1st grade.
They don't have to answer that.
Yeah.
You have anything planned for the rest of the year? What's next? What's the next big event that you guys are working on? Oh,
Oh, very good. What do you guys do to prepare for parent-teacher conferences?
Be good and at least that's what students do. That's all I know.
Did you fill out for me?
Oh, an application.
What about the report?
Yeah.
Yourself.
Actually, I don't think I filled out a report card. Not yet.
Miss Trees, what did you do?
At parent-teacher conferences, we also show our parents how we're doing with grades on testing and stuff.
About reaching your goals, is that part of it?
exciting.
Yeah, we'd like to
Shake
take
hands with them.
take a picture with you guys and shake your hands. You guys look at these pins, you guys.
Yep.
First.
Yeah.
Just turn around.
Turn around, hold those signs up, except for Eagles is spelled wrong. Oops, okay, hold your signs down.
We might not be the best spellers, but we sure tried.
Put your sign. down.
Yeah, here, let's just put your sign there. You go.
Hey, let's push in here just
Yeah, squeeze it in a little more.
I'd like to know each other. There you
There you go.
go. Well, where's Wilson? That's where it's at.
Ready, one, okay, ready, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good job, guys.
You're gonna go out.
Okay.
You want to grab?
Nice job.
Good job.
Good job. Thanks for coming. Good job. Thank you for being a job.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Good job.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Keep it up. You guy.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you.
Be good to go.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job. All right, we'll move on to correspondence. The consent agenda.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended. No. As presented. There was the one amendment. Yeah, there was as amended.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carries. Rules update. Vision.
Right, I'm Mr. Cott. I'm the principal at George Matthews, and I've also been in charge of the district's Ages and Stages, or ASQ, this year with the ASQ. There we go. What the ASQ is it's a test that all the caregivers pre-K through 6 years of age students take. The kind of the goal is to catch developmental issues that may arise, whether it's academic or physical, to help the district use that as an indicator for students to maybe receive special ed services. It's one of the things we can use in the buildings to identify those kids in kindergarten, along with testing data and observation and other factors. But it's one of the things we can use that gets information from home where they see their child at. Basically, there's two exams. One is from 1 month to 66 months of age. They basically ask generic questions of, can your students put together sentences, 4 and 5 words? Can they catch a ball? A few of those things. So most of our preschool students take that test. Going into kindergarten, there's another exam that they take. So they would take both of them if they were under 66 months. If they're older, they would just take the 1 through 72 month. Does it look at when you talk? Do they look at you when they talk to you? Does the child go to the bathroom by themselves? Does the child stay with an activity for more than 15 minutes? So just kind of catching some of those brief overviews so we can see as a district what activities may affect their learning. So this year, the day was September 8th. The district has given us a day where we have no preschool or kindergarten. Teachers set up in their own buildings appointments with all eligible students. So any student 77 months or under, unless they've been retained, then they don't take the test again. So it's only one time in kindergarten. Or if they have a already strong physical impairment that's already been identified, those kids get waived. What it looks like is teachers have this stuff set outside of their office. They take the quick like 10-minute survey or kind of answers. And then they also see the results, and then they meet with the parents after taking those tests, talking about the results with them, making sure that they understood the questions and basically kind of identify some of the areas that we may need to focus on that could potentially identify them down the road as special education. Part of this year was also getting our participation numbers way up. You can kind of look back in 2021, the district kind of started giving this, and they started with doing it one location. And then they broke out the following year because the participation wasn't very high. This is for preschool, looking at 37% in 2021. This past year, all the preschool, Garfield did extremely well getting them in. We're right around 96.8%, so 97%. For preschool, 97.99 or 98% for kindergarten. And that's every single kindergartner in the district. Part of this too is hopefully down the road, if we can keep these participation numbers up, they do have a kindergarten readiness star that we are looking at applying for, which we're very close to preliminary looking at it for next year. There may be some things that we need to look at that might prevent us from applying, but it's a very small compared to years past where we were 2 or 3 indicators out. We're extremely close. So all the kindergarten teachers in the district did extremely well this year. Yep.
Impressive numbers in participation, which makes all the difference in the world.
Yes.
Of course, as I think you made even in prior presentations. So what made the difference?
I think a lot of it is the kindergarten staff reached out to almost every parent. Also, some of it is being in the building. So we were able to kind of set up schedules to where parents are able to come in. So I know some buildings had it the day before, kind of that night. So it kind of fits parent schedules. So I think some of that is reaching out to parents instead of just sending letters home. It was constant communication. We used help having different translators as well. So we were able to get a lot of the other families. I know like our building, working with them, it helped a ton, especially like Albert, flexible hours and kind of scheduling those out. So they were able to help communicate with those families to get them in as well.
So this questionnaire went to all of our students who are on kindergartners, but also say preschool.
Preschool, all of Garfield and kindergarten students. Let me look real quick. I can pull it up. So we were looking at in Garfield, 372 families completed the ASQ. About, like I said, 97% of the total eligible that completed it. And then kindergarten, 459 families across the district completed the survey. So, I mean, all the buildings did extremely well scheduling them, getting them in and working with families this year.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Really quick question. So there was a number of kids that didn't necessarily need to sit down that evening.
Yeah.
As you described, and that really helped, I'm sure, with the numbers, because essentially those are counted as, because you were able to, whatever you call it, desktop review, or you already have the data.
Yep.
The communication with the parents, all of that.
Yeah, it did help. We actually, the window closed the same day as the count day. So not only did the district have the day where we were able to bring probably 99% of the families in that day, they also were able to reach out to them and complete it as families needed. up until count days, so.
So how do you feel about it?
I feel really good about that many families and getting that number up. Like I said, it was the first year I was in charge of doing, getting it organized. So I was worried about it going down, but I'm said working with my kindergarten teacher, who was also the lead kindergarten teacher, it's pretty impressive of what all they did to get a hold of families.
Really takes a whole team, doesn't it?
Yes, yes, it does.
I want to say congratulations. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. And like I said, again, I'd love to take all the credit, but I mean, all the kindergarten teachers did 90% of the work. It was just getting some of the stuff to them that they needed. And most of the families got goodie bags that the kids, they could take home with some activities like coloring, alphabet cards, so they can work on alphabet. Some books so they can read to them at home as well, so.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to new business, policy revision, graduation requirements. This is the first read.
I have board policy IHF, which is graduation requirements. If you recall, Mr. Norby had come in and Mrs. Mormon and Mr. Sullivan came in and talked about the changes in graduation requirements that are coming for our current class of 8th graders. And so those graduation requirements are going to change for them. Basically, credit wise, the significant changes that they're going to be required to have one more credit of STEM classwork, and then a half a credit of financial literacy that's going to be required for that class. And so really, if you look at the red line version, the only changes we made were to add to separate the 2023 to 2027 graduates and what their requirements are, and then moving forward with the 2028 and beyond, adding their graduation requirements in there. And then also, as we went through, we noticed that Garden City Achieve was not Garden City Achieve, it was Garden City Alternative Education Center. So we just updated the school name on there as well. But the only changes are just adding those new courses to the requirements for the kids moving forward for our current 8th graders and beyond. Any questions on that? Yes, sir.
I want you to be sure to have a question.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think the key to the answer to my question is already there in the last line of the policy. Exceptions may be granted by the board to waive local graduation requirements that are in excess of state minimum requirements.
Yeah.
Because there, at times we have, I noticed it says seniors, and you can have juniors, you can have kids of other ages that are just excelling and can take higher level classes and electives and specifically co-credit.
Yeah, dual credit
courses.
classes.
I don't really know the details there from a community college standpoint, but certainly in the past, it was notable that at least one Southwest Kansas student, graduated from college basically at the same time they graduated from high school. And you don't want to preclude that in a policy, but it's right there in the fact that it can be waived.
So typically when the kiddos are doing like what you're talking about, though, Mark, they're going to get dual credit. So they're going to get college credit and high school credit at the same time. And so they would still fall under that graduation
I
requirement.
read something in here where it was eligible to seniors, but it's eligible to.
For the dual credits.
Yeah.
They can start at junior, right?
Or if they're.
And if they're on a gifted IEP, they can start as freshmen.
Okay.
If they're gifted.
We have a number of juniors that achieve that. We'll do dual credit on those.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously want that wide open as an opportunity, and I just had skimmed it, but I'll look at it again.
Yeah,
To
so
make sure it's not somehow restrictions.
state requirements are 21 credits. So that's the minimum graduation that you have to have is 21 credits. Garden City High School is 24. Both virtual and Achiever 21 as well. If a student is in foster care, they automatically qualify for the 21 credits, no matter where they go to school. That's a state law. And then Dr. Dominguez has the ability, if there's specific circumstances where we would want them to graduate with the 21 hours, they can write a letter requesting a 21 credit graduation and he can approve that.
It was the dual credit part I meant to focus
Yeah.
on. So, yeah, and
Yeah.
you've answered that.
Yeah.
Neat stuff going on there. So
Yeah,
keep that rolling.
absolutely.
We have that list of the two post-secondary, the state requirements. Is there a list that has those, what they,
Where are you looking, Randy?
where it says that all students must earn 2 post-secondary assets defined by the Kansas State Board of Education? Are those figured into that?
No, those are going to be outside of their credits, things that they have to do outside of their credits. So Lucas, you're going to have to help me out. Come up here. So I know that one of them is that they have to have postgraduate assets.
Yeah, there's two.
That-
Yeah, we provided a list that KSD has kind of given us. They're not like concrete yet.
they're
And
still working.
That's what I was,
I
I
think-
remember though.
And I think it's gonna be decided at the local level, but they haven't given us enough guidance yet to what those look like. The biggest piece of that is gonna be just tracking them. Like, is it gonna go into Skyward with a transcript? That's kind of what we're trying to hammer out, because that's a lot of kids to keep track of those two post-secondary that's outside of their school days.
So one could be like doing an internship.
The 4-H, I know 4-H, Boy Scouts, things like that can be part of it as well.
What do you expect that to solidify, figure out, because we're talking graduates of 2028, that means they're freshmen next year.
I mean, that's something, hopefully we'll be able to get.
We're
a
hoping to
list.
get that
Yep.
soon.
Is waiting on the state. So at the high school, 3 years ago, we went and visited the Kauffman Foundation. The Kauffman Foundation is the group that originally started this up in Kansas City, post-secondary assets. We went and visited them as a high school a few summers ago to start the process before the state even thought about the process. So at the high school level, we've got those assets already built into place, whether it's welding certifications, nail tech certifications, job shadowing certifications. I mean, we've got an extensive list. Everything, the state's going to include things such as participation in outside activities like sports, theater, drama. Those will all be included.
JROTC is gonna be one on there, so it's gonna catch a lot.
Most of our kids in tracking last year, Steve put the numbers down, and I think we're already close to 90% of our kids graduating with these post-secondary assets already. So we're well ahead of the curve at alternative and at the high school implementing this. So it's not going to be much of an issue for our kids.
And the reason we wanted to get this portion in front of you now is just because we're gonna have counselors out in the middle schools, and it will affect the 8th graders. They're gonna start doing the scheduling, just so they can see financial literacy is on their credit checks going forward. But yeah, we hope to get like a finalized list here. I would hope sooner than later to you guys for the post-secondary asset part.
So you think that, I guess, is your expectation that list of qualifying assets will get hammered out in this next legislative session? Yeah, essentially, the State Board of Education just has to finalize the list. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not
legislative.
It's not legislative,
No,
it's State Board of Ed.
So we've had back and forth with the State Board of Ed on what's going to be included, what's not going to be included. There are some things like CPR first aid training. That's something that we offer that quite a few of our kids get access to. That the state board is kind of wavering back and forth on, do we include that or do we not include that? Small things that they've got to figure out where they draw the line on, does this count as post-secondary applicable in a job field?
Whatever they do, it has to be applied statewide, or can it be? Yeah.
There's gonna be some local
Discretion.
decision on it, local discretion. It's just, you gotta decide, some things will take a student 3 or 4 hours to complete. Some things may take a student 9 weeks to complete. So it's it's kind of that balancing act on what to include and what not to include, and having the state give us more guidance on what those things that are allowable are gonna be.
I didn't mean to open the can of
No, it's a great question. It is, yeah.
And really the reason that we wanted to get this in front of you all to get approval is because just like Lucas said, we're gonna, in January, February, the counselors will start doing enrollment at the middle schools to come for our incoming freshmen. So we need to.
So essentially they'll have two different credit checks, one for the eighth graders, and then one for everybody else that's already in high school, because it'll be different. For both.
Yeah. Right.
Financial literacy be provided state, or will that be an adopted curriculum?
That'll be an adopted curriculum that we'll select.
We'll be able to.
And so we've already got a financial literacy class at Garden City High School that we're doing. And so more than likely, I think the plan is to probably continue to do that.
Ingenuity also provides.
Ingenuity has a financial literacy piece. So like Mrs. Mormon will have that, and Mr. Solomon can use that if he needed to at Achieve. And they can do that at Garden City High School as well.
Achieve in the high school, we'll have to do a hybrid where you do some in person, some kids do in person, some kids do online, because they are kind of hamstringing us about who can actually teach the business or the financial literacy.
You would think that would be a math class, but math teachers can't teach it. It has to be business or social studies teachers that teach the class. So. The Dave Ramsey, there's a Dave Ramsey. Yep, it's a first read, so that'll be on the consent agenda unless there's questions moving forward.
Move on to consider and approve a state contract for our video archiver technology.
So that's me as well. So with our new security cameras, there's a need for a new server to support all the video that we're getting. So a video archiver server. And so this wasn't actually part of the original bid when we did all the security updates. And so this would be in addition to that, that Roxy Schaefer is requesting for $17,248. It would just be the one server that would support basically all of the cameras that we're updating, and that server would be housed here, but would access all the cameras district. On that.
Originally thought it was foreseeable.
Yeah. Because we get more cameras, we're gonna need more hardware to store them. Yeah, so we've got to continue to build that capacity.
That an action item? Yes. So I think they're looking for a motion for the board to approve this.
Mr. President, I make a motion to consider and approve the state contract. Or is it Sandifer Video Archive Technologies as presented?
I'll second that. Yeah, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the state contract for video archiver as presented. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Move on to G3, consider and approve a state contract. Dimco Leap Rise Furniture and Equipment for our special ed department.
That's me again as well. So we have some ESSERS funding that is earmarked specifically for special education. And so Mrs. Galpin, our Director of Special Ed, has requested that we use it to purchase and update some furniture and equipment in the RISE rooms and the LEAP rooms. So the RISE rooms are classrooms for our more significant kids. Those are our kiddos that we've talked about in the past that have the most significant needs in the district. We recently opened a new classroom at Edith Sharman this year. And so the need for specialized equipment and things like that in those classrooms is important. In addition, our LEAP rooms, which are basically our life skills classrooms, those are the kiddos when they get to the high school are going to be like on Mr. Lappin's coffee cart, to kind of get an idea of who those kiddos are. Same thing, we wanted to get some furniture and things to update the classrooms there. Those classrooms are very, very structured and oftentimes very individualized. And so setting up separate workspaces and really mapping out that classroom to make it more suitable for learning for those kiddos is important. And so Mrs. Galpin has kind of put together a list of things that she would like to purchase with our funds that need to be liquidated out of special ed for that.
That was ESSER funds.
Yes, sir. And specifically earmarked ESSER funds just for special education. So these are funds that we had to encumber by September 30th, and we have to have them liquidated by December 30th. Colleen, is that right? December 31st.
Encumbered September 30th, liquidated December 30th.
Which is why we have an itemized list, basically, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, comment, a question. First of all, seems like a no-brainer, particularly with all the problems to those deadlines. But I take the opportunity to sort of ask the question in my mind. We used to have self-contained classes, and then we moved away from that. And where are we as far as number of these classrooms versus now, and this equipping and pulling out of storage, the old equipment and everything that we need to do to get these classrooms what they need to have. How many classrooms are we talking about now versus how many self-contained?
So we had 7 self-contained classrooms at one time. Basically, those classrooms became the LEAP rooms. And so we have 3 of those still. And so we have a kindergarten classroom. We have a 1st and 2nd grade room, and then we have a 3rd and 4th grade room. They're all at Alta Brown. And so those classrooms are still there. They're just a different name. And we really were specific on the kids that we wanted to move into those rooms.
And some of this equipment, even though those are existing classrooms, there's updated.
Yeah, updating some of that. Yeah, a lot of that stuff gets damaged and things like that. The Rise room has typically always been at Victor Nellis. The problem is that we're seeing a significant number of kiddos going into the Rise room. Garfield's numbers has, when I left Garfield as the principal, we had 1 Rise room at Garfield. We now have 3 Rise rooms at Garfield. And so we're seeing kids both in the morning and the afternoon in all 3 of those classrooms. And so when those kids come out, not all of them are going to go into the Rise room at VO or Ada Sharma, but the majority of them are. And so those numbers are just, we're seeing an increased number of kiddos with much more significant needs than we have in the past. Why that is, I don't know that I can answer the question why that is, but it was a trend that we were starting to see when I was at Garfield. We were seeing that, but for sure the last 2 years that I was the director of SPED, talking to Melanie Garrison, just the number of kids that they were getting in that were going into the Rise room has really grown significantly. And you're talking about kids that need much more intense support. And so, you know, the number of kiddos that you have in those classrooms is lower and the adult ratio is higher. And obviously the need for materials and resources for those kids is higher.
That's just tremendous work, tremendous need. One follow-up question. We had I don't even know the original name of it, but we had a transitional sort of hybrid class where kids weren't quite ready for kindergarten, but they didn't necessarily need to be held back. It was sort of a part of the year special focus and part of the year transitioning them up so that they are then kindergarten. Do you know what I'm talking about there? Because I can't think of the name.
You're talking progressive kindergarten at Florence Wilson?
I don't know what it's called, but it's where we were trying to do a hybrid between the two and get those kiddos so that that can be moved into kindergarten, sort of catch them up, if you will. We used to do a whole year where it wasn't that. And then we shifted it to where we were going to, by golly, get them ready by the end of the year, they were gonna be in there with.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's Amanda Minor's classroom, progressive
Amanda
kindergarten.
Miners, yeah.
Yeah. So,
We still have that, right?
yeah, that's still at Florence Wilson. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so the reason that we went away from doing, because the state said that we can't have mandatory 2-year programs in kindergarten. And so that's the reason. Used to be all of the kids that went to, at that time it was TKI, now it's PKI.
That's right.
So that program and then all of our self-contained kindergarten classrooms were all 2-year programs. And we kind of got frowned on for that. And so we needed to transition away from that. And so we moved all of those into 1-year programs. And so that's why.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a sort of a point there is a lot that your teams are addressing
Mhm.
in that early age, because it's so formidable and so
Right.
so important to get those kids into basically first grade ready.
Yeah.
It's just very laudable, but it's also adapting to the realities of the kids that are coming in the door. I guess the last question, I'll stop taking time here, but Garfield, you get kids come of age throughout the year. But those are the early ones, so those really have nothing to do with these classrooms and this equipment, correct?
Correct.
As we-
Well, some of this equipment could go to Garfield. It's listed on here as one of the classes that could get it for the rise from at Garfield as well. Yeah. Because, like I said, we've grown from 1 classroom to 3, so their need for materials and
Even the early age,
yeah, absolutely.
thank you.
Mhm.
As well as an action item.
Yes, if we could.
So I would move that we.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the state contract Dimco Leap and Rise Furniture and Equipment. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. We move on to student teacher agreement. Your tone. So what you guys have in front of you is a updated student teacher agreement. We've made some adjustments over the past few years. We started with kind of a basic student teacher agreement. For a long time, student teachers didn't get paid anything to come and student teach and work. Then we came into the advanced student teacher agreement, which paying them a certain amount of money to come and student teach at Garden City. This new student teacher agreement, what it is it's a student teacher agreement with a 2-year commitment where they go in and they take over an entire classroom and serve as the teacher in the classroom. You guys obviously understand our need for long-term subs. What this would do is it would allow us to replace a lot of these long-term subs with student teachers. The student teachers would commit to a 2-year contract with us. We would pay the student teachers as long-term subs, so they would get long-term sub pay, which would be anywhere from $17,000 to $18,000 a semester, plus benefits like we currently pay our long-term subs that we have in building right now. Great thing about it is all these student teachers have gone through an educational program. We can get them to commit here for 2 years, get them locked in, and we'll have those student teachers as certified teachers after that semester student teaching. The cost, we were going to pay a long-term sub in that position anyway. These are 4 long-term subbing positions that we are not able to fill. So we're going to be paying the long-term sub in that position anyway. So it's cost neutral. The $17,000 to $18,000 plus benefits is what our current long-term subs make. We're the first ones in the state to do this. So I have to go around once we get approval from you guys. I have to go around to all the universities and have discussions with all those universities about whether they will allow this to happen. Each individual university gets to decide whether or not they allow this to happen, but in preliminary discussions with Fort Hays State, KU and K-State, the University of Nebraska, Nebraska Kearney, they've all said if you guys are able to do this, we'll allow it to happen. This is something nobody else is doing. It's going to be first of its kind. So I think it'll give us a competitive advantage in getting student teachers, that we can get them in place. And it'll help us push those long-term subs back into our sub pool to help with the day-to-day subs that we need. So this is just a first read. Any questions, Jennifer? Did you have?
Yeah, I do. I guess my question is, will they be supported as a new teacher or will there be extra mentoring that
So
the other teachers take
good
on?
question. They'll still fall under student teachers. So they'll have extra mentoring. They'll have a supervising cooperating teacher. They won't be classified as a new teacher in our district. They'll be classified as a student teacher with all of those supports that the university provides to them and we provide to them.
I think it's fabulous. It's innovative and it's just the way that I think the industry needs to go, frankly. So I won't be surprised if a lot of other districts follow suit. Obviously out here, young professionals like that coming out of college or not yet completing college, this is one of the requirements for completing their education, they don't necessarily, unless they have family here locally, they don't have a place to stay.
Yeah.
And they're not getting paid probably at the level to afford to get a place to stay. Or maybe they do. There's just a lot of community support that I think we'll need to keep working on to support them.
So Dr. Dominguez has been in communication with Dr. Ruda out at the junior college. The junior college is actually going to start saving us some of their apartment units to place these student teachers at a very favorable rate to these student teachers to allow them, you know, a place to stay that you're not paying Garden City rental rates for that place to stay. You know, bills are included, internet's included, those sorts of things are included by the college, and then the student will essentially write the check for rent to the college each month at that reduced rate. So it was a good opportunity for Dr. Dominguez and Dr. Ruda to work together to help alleviate those issues. We're going to start small with it, and then hopefully we can grow and grow and grow that program.
I just think that's ideal. In my own family, the child, struggled that semester because they're basically doing an internship in the classroom and yet they're not allowed. In that case, at K-State, we weren't allowed to get paid.
Yeah.
And that was almost devastating financially.
It is. And it's wild to think that one of the lower paid professions in America, and we don't allow them to get paid on their internship. My son had a summer internship as a freshman and he got paid, and these are kids about to graduate college and we're making them go broke to try to be a teacher.
And well, in my case, it's the classic thing you described is that long-term sub or even just subbing between college classes was allowable. But then if you tried to complete your education, you were not allowed to get paid for it.
Yeah. So a lot of our education programs are moving in this direction. You guys have approved a lot of these type of agreements. We're going to have one coming forward with social workers over the next few weeks, a social worker agreement to be able to pay a social worker for their practicum hours. We already do it for school psychs, behavior consultants, speech paths, PTs, all those. We're doing it with a lot, and you're seeing it statewide, where it's happening more and more where if we're going to get these people, we're going to have to pay them to get out here. Being able to put, $18,000 on a recruiting board for a bunch of freshmen and sophomores in college, saying, hey, we can pay you this X amount of dollars plus benefits. And then a lot of those kids don't quite understand benefits yet, but get them off mom and dad's insurance and move them over to their own insurance, their own retirement funds, their own capers, all that stuff. Getting them to kind of understand that piece of it is going to be a huge recruiting tool for us. Not necessarily this isn't going to affect kids that are student teaching next semester because most of those kids have committed, but being able to go to these places and talk to sophomores and juniors, those younger students that we haven't done a very good job, in my opinion, of reaching out to. This allows us to go in with some ammo to talk to those younger students in education. and even students outside of education that are looking to maybe, hey, marketing may not be the path for me. Maybe I can get into an education pathway and do a transition to teach and.
I just applaud that partnership with the community.
Yeah.
And it, you're not, the job's not done.
Yeah.
Because there's such an emotional transition of those young professionals coming out of college into this sort of non-college environment. And so the support, if it's in town, say in Manhattan, that's a very different environment for that support than if you've come all the way out to Garden City.
Yeah.
So there's some challenges there, but necessity is the mother of invention, and I certainly applaud the initiative.
And we're fortunate at K-State. Tony Martinez and Dave Martinez are Southwest Kansas people that head up a lot of the K-State placements. So, luckily having a relationship with them prior to me taking this job, it's been nice to be able to build that relationship with those guys. The same with Fort Hays State and Newman, and we'll be building a relationship with KU in the future. Don't currently have one, but will in the future.
Great. When does the time start for that 2 years? And from their first day?
Well, from the end of student teaching. 2 years of full-time employment. So this is just a first read. It'll be expectation to be on consent at the next meeting unless you guys have other questions.
So this agreement is basically Fort Hays is approved.
Fort Hays has approved us to do it. That was when I wrote the memo to begin with. Since then, those other universities that I talked about have also, what they've all figured out is, and it was kind of my hope, is once one approves it, the rest of them are going to have to approve it. Otherwise, they're not going to look, parents are going to look at them and go, why is Fort Hays State allowing this, but you guys aren't allowing this? I've got to pay, X amount of dollars to send my kids to college to student teach. And then now we've got to send them off to, to Garden City to be a student teacher, and that's going to cost even more money. So what happened was Fort Hays State said they would approve it. I approached K-State, I approached Nebraska, Kearney, all those guys, and everybody's been favorable to it. Just need your approval. We won't start until you guys approve it, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's all of our new business, so the board open discussion.
Has that hatchet down? I just had to mention that. Congratulations to high school and to the football team and that victory.
We're 21-9 in the last 30 years against them. It's been a good 30 years.
Well, I think I just want to commend the district administration for, I think you guys have demonstrated, particularly here in these last couple board meetings, some really creative ideas for recruiting and for our district. I mean, and not just, obviously recruiting teachers is extremely high priority, but just even like the temporary transportation driver agreement last board meeting, we've got needs in every department in the district. We all know that. So I just really want to tell you guys good job for that, and encourage you to keep up that creative thinking and finding these solutions.
Yeah, I agree. I'll second that. That's the great things. I'm really excited of the new ideas that come. We're not just kicking the same can down the road. I like that we're trying to be innovative and you guys are outside the box thinking, and it's perfect.
Well, I would just second those guys. I think that's great. And also it was great to have Florence Wilson in the building tonight and see the excitement on those spaces as they read to us and kind of talked a little bit about their school. So I always enjoy having them in.
Dr. Dominguez?
Absolutely, well, and all of that. So thank you. The creative thinking is, we definitely have to push that 100%. Want to commend GC3, Garden City Community College also. They are also, hey, can you get us some apartments? So it is a community effort, exactly what Mark Root said. It's difficult for a young student to leave home and to find another house. It is apartment, it's fully furnished. They just got to pay the rent. With Florence Wilson being here, the 7 students representing their lighthouse school. Leader in Me is big. The goals or mission, the parents will see when they have the parent-teacher conference that the students are setting their goal. They are supporting their goal, their daily habits, which makes us is going to show in that. Also the ages and stages, 97% participation. That's huge. We just got to get the numbers, look where we can help individuals, parents, engage rich power. So and the student teacher agreement is going to be huge. It's going to be a big thing. We're the first ones to do it. And when we go out and recruit and we say we can give you some, number 1, salary, number 2, benefits, that's going to talk. That really does. It is going to matter. So and these are the individuals, we don't have nothing against an alternatively certified individual, just that they've been in the pedagogy, they've been in the training, teacher training. So we want to get people that have been teachers and or in that same college setting. So yeah, it's going to be good. So really appreciate the board support on that.
Our next meeting for the Board of Education will take place November 6, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Board Meeting Room at the Educational Support Center, 1205 Fleming Street, Garden City, Kansas. Executive session.
Mr. President, I move we go into executive session for 30 minutes to discuss a personal matter pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under coma to discuss an individual employee's performance beginning at December. In open meeting, resume in the boardroom at 7:30.
Get a second down here.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.